Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome, everybody, to Hot Mic on this 21st day of April, 2026. The weather is warm. Recruiting is heating up all over for college football. We've already had a bunch in our area make some decisions here over the last, I'd say, month. And the next up for the class of 2027 made it official yesterday afternoon, one that we've been waiting on for a little bit, as tiny Stanley, North Dakota, became the center of the college football world, at least in our part of it, over the last year plus. Stanley's Ben Hynek announced yesterday he is verbally committing to go play football in the Big 12 at Kansas State, and he launches off our show this morning to chat about making decisions. Great to see you back on the show. Congratulations. Just give me first the initial, it's been, 12 hours. What's the reaction, Ben?
Huge blessing, but, man, my phone is blowing up with a lot of people that I haven't talked to or seen in a long time, but it's great. Really appreciate it.
So you mentioned, we were just chatting before we came on, you were in Manhattan last week for a few days. What was what put it over the finish line for to say this is where I can see myself going to school?
The people there were really good. They make me feel welcome. They felt like good people. They always wanted to win. They had the need to get better. It just felt like home. It felt like a place I wanted to be.
So I believe we had you on last summer when things were, let's just say, crazy. So take us from June to now. What is the last, 10 months been like?
It's been crazy. Been going on a few visits and a lot of phone calls and a lot of hard decisions to make and just trying to narrow it down. And that was a big process in itself, but it was great.
Now, for people that didn't follow, Ben, you were, I think, originally looking at offensive line. Now you're looking more at tight end. Can you tell us about that development and then the change there of what you're going to play at the next level?
Yeah, so before I played football my junior year, I had heard a lot of, we'll take you as a tight end, but you'll get bigger and you'll turn into an offensive lineman, or we'll just take you as an offensive lineman. But then I don't think I really gained any weight from my sophomore to junior year, and then on my junior film, I think they saw that I could move a little better, so they're like, okay, we'll just take this guy as a tight end. So I haven't heard O-line very much at all anymore.
What are you weighing right now?
Like 250, 245.
And still about 6'6"? Are you still growing, or are you done?
No, I've been done for 2 or 3 years now.
I want to get to that in a second. So when you're down there in Manhattan, was there anything you had to hear to say, hey, we really believe in you? Was there one thing you took away from their conversation when you were driving back home to say, yeah, I think this is it?
I wouldn't say it was just one specific thing. I would think it would be their whole message all around the 2 days that I was there. It was the whole general meeting that I loved it a lot. It was great.
Did this ever get overwhelming? I mean, we talked last summer about the amount of the schools that were coming, the amount of schools that were coming to Stanley. Do you ever stop like, man, this is a lot?
Yeah. It was right away. It was pretty overwhelming. I mean, I was on the phone all the time and talking to people all the time, and people were visiting in the school all the time. But I think I learned to kind of deal with it a little better, and then it just kept getting better and better.
When did you realize, like, all right, these kind of schools are talking to me. They think I can play. Like, they're confident in me that I can be a FBS, I can be a Power 4 level player?
I guess that didn't really set in until probably last spring around this time, maybe a little before, when I started to get a few more offers. And I was like, holy crap, this is this is really happening. You know, it was surreal.
So we haven't talked since last football season. How did that go? And just in terms of, you weren't sneaking up at anybody. That teams were looking for you out there. How did you handle that? How difficult was that to play last fall?
Oh, it was so much harder than it was the year before. I mean, it felt like I was playing with a big target on my back, but I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I thought it was pretty great, but it was a challenge.
What describe that? Was it just double teams, just constant like chipping? What was it like on the field?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of double teams. I got those a ton, but then like you line up across from a guy, and the guy's like, "Oh shoot, I can't take this play off. I got to go 100% no matter what." And it was the constant chipping, like you said, too. I mean, it kind of wears on you a little bit.
So the other end of this is, we were visiting a little bit off air on it, that you have to call the other schools and say thanks, but no thanks. What is that like? Because there's no manual for that, and you had quite a few schools that were interested. Describe that and what that process is like.
To be honest, it really wasn't as bad as people would think it would be. Most schools were very understanding. And a lot of the schools after that, like I had some great relationships with some different people and different coaches, and they were like, okay, well, let's look at what's best for you and how can I help you beyond my school. And I mean, I had some great conversations from them too.
That this is now over. Just what was your emotions like last night? Relief, excitement, a little bit of everything. Tell me about last night.
It was a little bit of everything. I was definitely super excited to get down and start working in Manhattan, but then just the relief of not having to worry about where am I going to school? Is this a right fit? Is this, is this, that? It was a big relief too.
Was there a time where you wanted to have this done? I know you wanted to have it done long before your senior year got started, but was this in the window of when you wanted to make a decision?
No, this is a little earlier than what I initially thought. What I initially thought was like end of May, early June. And then I realized that like I could lose some offers or whatever opportunities because other guys could take them. And so I just wanted to move everything up a little bit and try to make it pretty much as quick as I could.
I won't say pressure. I guess I'll ask, were the other schools saying, hey, we need a decision and we're going to move on?
No, I never heard that.
Okay.
I was pretty much the moving factor of let's do this a little quicker.
Obviously, K-State has a new staff. What did you relate to with Coach Klein, and how was that relationship once he took over in late December and January?
Yeah, he's a really good dude. I like him a lot. I mean, he's a winning guy. He wins in everything. I mean, when he played there, he was really good, and I think when he coaches there, he'll be really good too. And I think that's what we relate to, is just the want to win.
What was that phone call like to tell him you were coming?
Oh, that was great. It was great. I called the position coach, my tight end coach, Brian Lepak, first, and he was screaming up and down. It was it was awesome. It was great.
Did you get a chance to talk to Coach Klein as well?
Yeah, I called him right after, and he was the same way. He was super pumped.
Who did you tell first at home? Mom and Dad, I'm assuming. What was that reaction to say, okay, I made a decision. This is where I'm going to go?
Yeah, I told my parents first, and they're like, I'm super proud of you. Great job. And I think my mom's kind of been pulling for Kansas State from the beginning because that's where we took our first visit, and she really liked it. And she would support me no matter what, but I think she really enjoys this place.
Off of that, was there anything that stuck with you? Obviously, your mom was a big fan of it. When your first trip to Manhattan, could you see yourself playing there? Did that stick on that first trip?
Yeah, it did. It was my first trip, so I didn't really know what to expect or what it was going to be like. But now looking back, it was a great trip, and I should have taken a little more off of that. It was great.
So tell me about the reaction in Stanley. Obviously they're used to this now, considering you've been going this for almost 2 full years. But what's it been like back home once you made this announcement yesterday?
It's been a little hectic. Yeah, walking in the hallways, seeing some people like on the street or something. They're like, "Hey, congratulations, way to go!" It's great. It's a huge blessing, but it's just great.
So now that this is done, I mean, how much does this change the upcoming summer? I don't know if you were planning on still camping. I guess I'll ask you, were you still planning on doing all that this summer?
I guess I haven't really looked ahead to that. If I were to go to a camp, I'd only go to K-State just to get coached by them. But I mean, other than that, I probably wasn't going to other than like our team camp.
How much does that change, I guess, now making this decision? Like, okay, what's your summer get easier now that this is over and done with?
Yeah, it probably does. Won't have to take near as many like official visits or go out and make a road trip just to make sure and see another place. It takes a lot of stress and overwhelming off of it because I won't have to make a decision over the summer again. So I think it makes it easier for sure.
Ben, you can give us the window into this over what the last couple of years have been like. So just take us through like a common day. Like you go to school, get home, and then how long are you on the phone talking with different schools? Can you go through that for us?
Yeah. So like a few weeks ago, I'd go to school, go to practice, come home, and I'd be on average probably like 4 or 5 phone calls with coaches a day for 15, 20 minutes each. And it was pretty crazy.
It sounds like a lot, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And some days would be a lot more. Like some days I'd probably get up to 8 or 9, or some days it'd just be 1 or 2.
Man.
But yeah.
So I can understand the relief part of now having the decision and have it be done with. So now it's over. What's today like? Of like, okay, it's over and done with.
Yeah. Today I just got school. I got a baseball game after school, and I'm not going to have to worry about going on 3 or 4 or 5 phone calls. I'll maybe go on 1, but that's about it.
So I know you do multiple sports. Which one do you enjoy the most that's not football?
I like baseball the most after football. Yeah.
Tell us about that. What's the relationship with baseball, and is there anything about baseball that you've seen has helped you as a football player?
I think definitely the hand-eye coordination part of it.
Yeah.
Just getting like the footwork down with your feet and throwing a ball across the bases. And before I pursued like college football, I had always kind of wanted to play college baseball. Baseball had always been like one of my favorites, right up next to football.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a beautiful sport.
So how big a deal, you get a sense of how big a deal this is in North Dakota? I mean, we talked obviously last summer, the amount of guys that are getting this level of attention. There's a few on this end of the state. Obviously, there's a few out your way as well. That how big a deal this is that you're going to be playing Power 4 football here in a couple years.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't think it's really set in yet, but it's pretty cool.
I know expectations are always high, but when you're thinking about next fall of getting back out on the field, what goes through your mind? Like, okay, this is my last go around. We want to have the best year we can in Stanley.
Yeah, I definitely got to put it all out there and make sure my teammates are putting it all out there too. The expectations are definitely really high, but I think I hope I can get up to them.
Now, you can name names if you want, but was there a phone call or a when you look down at your phone, like, I can't believe I'm talking to blank? Can you give us a backstory on that comes to mind?
Yeah, so a couple month and a half ago, maybe, I was talking to Northwestern, and I looked down on my phone, and Chip Kelly is calling me, and I'm like, holy crap, this is Chip Kelly. And that was also a really fun conversation too.
What was that like? Can you give us a little bit about that?
Yeah, he was recruiting me. He's trying to get me down to come for a visit and telling me about like their offense a little bit. I think telling me about their facilities and how their facilities are right on one of the Great Lakes and how beautiful it is. And he was doing a great job too. He telling me like what kind of schemes he wanted to run for me, like if I was going to play tight end or offensive line or D end or whatever. But that's just kind of how it went.
That's pretty cool. You know what you're going to be majoring in yet? Have you thought about it, or not yet?
I'm going back to like ag econ or ag business.
Okay.
Those are the two that I kind of think.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you doing this. I know you got to get back to school. Thanks so much for making time to start our show today. Congratulations. Stay healthy. We'll talk during the football season, okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Great to see you, bud.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
There he goes. Stanley's Ben Hynek joining us to start our show here on a Tuesday morning. Part of that electric North Dakota football class of 2027 we've been talking about for the better part of 2 years that he announced yesterday he's going to go to Kansas State. Let me just read this off real quick. the amount of offers that the young man had. North Dakota State, Wisconsin, Utah, Central Florida, Syracuse, Purdue, Missouri, Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland, Kansas, Illinois, Cal, Auburn, Arkansas, Arizona. That's about as illustrious as a list as we've had for a guy playing in North Dakota. In Class A football in North Dakota. And that's not to disparage Class A football, but just we don't have that. We've gotten somewhat used to it happening in 3A football in this state with guys from Cheyenne that have gone to play for the Gophers. We're still wrapping our mind on the fact that Kindred has two on the same team. They're going to be playing Power 4 football. Stanley, North Dakota is not necessarily a football hotbed, but Ben Hynek put it on the map, and now he's going to be playing for Colin Klein and Kansas State. Obviously, Klein taking over for Chris Kleiman when Chris retired last December. Klein was a former assistant with Kleiman and former quarterback at Kansas State. There's a lot of affection for him to get the job, and now he'll be going to Manhattan. Congratulations to Ben. His dad is a former Bison. I know there was some heartstrings trying to be pulled there to get him to come to Fargo, and I think Tim Polasek was realistic about this when they saw the offer list coming in. I think it was Auburn offered him, and we talked about it on the show. When that happened, I think most Bison fans at least should have been up to the fact, like, yeah, I don't think this guy's going to be coming to NDSU. And that's, again, because I'm sure Bison fans were freaking out yesterday or at least maybe disappointed, upset, maybe too strong a word to see. Now that's another high-level player from the area that's not going there. And again, I would tell you, look where they're going, right? It's not like, and this is going to sound disparaging to another group of 6 school, these are all going to Power 4 schools, whether it be the University of Minnesota or now Kansas State into the mix, or Iowa, or, you know what I mean? Like, we're not, stop it. I mean, that's just, it's a different level of football. So congrats to Ben, and appreciate him getting us show started here this morning. We got a lot more coming up here. Our guest lineup today is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up in hour number 2, Sean Reider will join us from the Albuquerque Journal. We will start our move to the Mountain West coverage today. For those who have been, and we got emails about it yesterday saying, I want to know more. Well, Sean covers everything for the University of New Mexico. They have their spring game coming up this weekend. We'll get the lowdown on the Lobos. Head coach is Jason Eck, former South Dakota State assistant, offensive coordinator. They're coming off a 10-win year a season ago, made it to the Rate Bowl, faced Minnesota. The Bison will go to New Mexico on October the 24th. So we'll get the latest from Sean at 10 o'clock. And we'll end the show at 10:35 with North Dakota State quarterback Cole Payton will join us as we close in on the NFL draft. We'll get his thoughts on where he's hearing, what his agent is telling him, where he could potentially go, what teams he's visited with over the last month. Excited to visit with Cole from his hometown of Omaha in the anticipation of what's to come either late Friday night or I think certainly early Saturday. The third round of the NFL draft will go, I would say, probably around 8 o'clock on Friday night, maybe 8:30. And then the fourth round begins at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So one way or the other, he's going to hear his name called, and fairly early. Big stuff there. So we're looking forward to our conversation with Cole coming up to wrap the show. That and a heck of a lot more, including if you didn't stay up late last night, you missed out on an all-time Wolves comeback. We'll show you that and a heck of a lot more. Glad you're joining us. Hot Mic is underway. We're back on WDAY Extra right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We're off and rolling here on a busy Tuesday morning. Our thanks to Ben Hynek for getting us started out in Stanley, North Dakota. Big day for the Blue Jays out there. Know they're excited about that and appreciate him making some time. And we say good morning, everybody, and welcome officially to the show. And we have a lot of blurry eyes this morning in the upper Midwest. For those that either watched the Wild game, which got over after 11 last night, and we'll show you that coming up here in just a little bit, or if you stayed up and watched the Wolves. Now, yesterday we said it, that it was supposed to start at 9:30. no games ever start at the start time. It just, that's, hey, get in front of the television there. We're going to do our pregame, set up the game, and then we're going to tip it off. The slide went into effect, which is a television term that the games have about a 10-minute window to slide the tip back to accommodate the previous game getting done, which the Hawks and the Knicks was a fabulous finish, and seeing the Knicks collapse, not great, as Atlanta came back and won, led by the pride of Lehigh, C.J. McCollum, to give Atlanta the win. Now, the slide went into effect, meaning the Wolves started at 9:47. 9:47 Central Time. Regardless of it being late here, it's also late in Denver. That's an 8:45 start in Denver. That's just late on top of things. And then NBC decided to break between games. We missed the start of said game, which we picked it up once the broadcast started. It was 6-3 or whatever it was. But we didn't see the very start unless you were watching on Peacock. Now, if you decided to stay up and watch the first quarter and saw what happened, I have no bones to pick with you if you went to bed because it looked bad. Denver was rolling. So if you woke up this morning and saw the final score, you're like, what in the world of Nikola Jokic happened? I don't blame you because Jamal Murray was outstanding to start. Foul with a three-pointer and one. They're up 11. Stop fouling him when he's shooting threes. Another one. The Nuggets go up 15. Tim Hardaway Jr. drills it and 1-3. Finally, the Wolves got going. They were down 15 at the end of one. 39-24. Julius Randle drive to the basket. Suddenly, the Wolves, with this Anthony Edwards take the lead at 49-48. Edwards cans a three. Minnesota goes up by 2 right before the break. How many times, remember Murray did this in the playoffs 2 years ago at Target Center? Launches one, 51-footer to tie the game at halftime. Let's go to the third, halfway through it. Edwards, drive, and one. Come on. How tough is that to stop? Wolves go up 75-73 on a tough take from Ant. It was great last night. Back comes Jokic, open three. Didn't have a great night shooting. Nuggets go up by 1. It's a 4-point Denver lead. I don't know how you stop that. He had 16 in the third alone. Move to the fourth. It's a 1-point Denver lead. Nobody gets back. Jaden McDaniels throws it down. Wolves up 1. Jokic is short with the hook. Dante DiVincenzo was great last night. Gets out alone, lays it in. Wolves up 3. Now over 2 minutes to go. Huge possession here. Edwards misses. Rudy the putback on Jokic. Wolves up 4. Now a 1-point lead. Here's the shot of the game. DiVincenzo drills a 3. Puts Minnesota up by 4 with just over a minute to go. The Timberwolves come from 15 down, from 19 down, and beat Denver 119-113 and even up the best of 7 at a game apiece. After how deflating Saturday afternoon was, that's how exhilarating this morning was, because the game done well after 12:30 at night. Minnesota snaps the winning streak that goes back for Denver. They won 12 in a row to wrap the regular season and obviously won the first game of the postseason. Edwards goes for a cool 30 and 10. Julius Randle, nice to see him awake with 24. Dante was great. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Murray and Jokic were a combined 4 points in the fourth quarter. Afterwards, Chris Finch elated with Anthony Edwards, who was also pretty elated with how Rudy Gobert played against Jokic.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. It was unbelievable. I think also in that period when we were down, he was great on the bench, great leadership, positive. He recognized he needed to get into attack mode and get downhill a little bit more. He did that. He got off the ball when they put 2 on him, to start the second quarter run. But, then all the way Dante makes the big three. They put 2 on the ball. Great play by Ant right there. So I thought he was outstanding tonight.
We're half the team when you're on the bench. It's just that simple. Like, everybody gonna say this about Rudy. He's this, he's that. They don't understand what he means to us when he's on the floor. Like, people don't want to lay the ball up around him. People just don't want to go at Rudy. Like, regardless of what they say about him on the offensive end of the floor, like, he's a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. He's been doing it at a high level for a long time, and we need him on the floor. That's why I challenged him at the end of the third.
That's pretty much the only thing we could show from Ant's press conference yesterday that didn't have any swear words in it. He was pretty pumped about the win. So, series tied, now at a game apiece. Off day today, travel day. Off day Wednesday. Game 3 Thursday night on Amazon Prime, 8:30 in Minneapolis at Target Center. I figure the Vikings will be making their first-round pick probably right about when the game will tip off. Unless the Vikes trade, then we'll see. Game 4 will be Saturday night at Target Center, that game on WDAY. And now we know Monday will be necessary. Monday night will be another, here you go, 9:30 start on NBC a week from yesterday. So if you got used to one 9:30, we got another one for you next Monday night back in Denver. To update the other games last night in the playoff bracket here, we mentioned the Hawks beat the Knicks, so Atlanta's even up that series at a game apiece. The Cavaliers got their win as well over the Raptors, so Cleveland's up 2-0 in that series. We've got 3 more games tonight. Game 2 between the Celtics and the Sixers is the only Eastern Conference game. In the West, now Nuggets-Wolves at a game apiece. We've got Game 2 of the Spurs and the Blazers coming up tonight, and Game 2 of the Rockets and the Lakers, with L.A. leading 1-0. The Suns and the Thunder will play tomorrow night, and that'll be Game 2 there after OKC won convincingly on Sunday. I'll just say this to put a bow on Game 2. You can complain all you want about the start time, and it sucked. But if you actually committed to it, and I know there were plenty that were watching, at least that were interacting with me last night, that was exhilarating. And then here's the thing. We played 7 games 2 years ago between these two teams. Whoever wins, are they going to have anything left for the next round? And I'll just say that, it looked like Denver ran out of gas after how they started the game. Frankly, it was the opposite of how Game 1 went. The Wolves came out a house ablaze in Game 1 and didn't have anything to finish after that. Last night, Nuggets couldn't, literally, they hit 3 threes to get fouled. Never seen that before. And then Minnesota flips the script on them. Kept watching. Okay, they're down 10. Now they're down 8. Now they're down 5. They just kept coming. That's what made last night such a fun game to follow and to watch. And inevitably, they come back and win the game. You just thought they were going to win. There were reports like when Denver would get up 5 in the third or up 5 in the fourth, like, I don't like this. And then they'd make the extra pass. The Wolves had 31 assists last night. They'd make the extra pass. Nas would can a 3. They make the extra pass. Dante hits a corner 3. That's what this team can be. And Edwards said it perfectly. When Gobert defends like he did last night on Jokic, then they can win. I think Rudy took it personally. He didn't get any votes for Defensive Player of the Year. It was unanimous, by the way, that Wemby won. And I don't think he was upset that Wembanyama won, being the fellow Frenchman that he is. I think Gobert wanted some consideration to get a couple votes at least. It wouldn't be unanimous. Jokic last night, 8 of 20 from the floor, 1 of 7 from three-point range. And as the great Bill Simmons said yesterday, if he keeps shooting like that, the Wolves are going to leave him open. They'll take that if he's going to be 1 of 7 from three-point range. So, series at 1-1, heading back to Minneapolis. That'll be raucous on Thursday night. You saw A-Rod on the floor afterwards with the enthusiastic celebration with Anthony Edwards after Minnesota even the series at a game apiece with Game 3 on Thursday. Let's break. We come back. The other Minnesota playoff team going last night, the Wild, did not fare as well against Dallas. We'll show you that when Hot Mike returns on a Tuesday morning. We're back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Tuesday morning show off and rolling. No McFeely today. He's out. We'll see Mike next week. I don't know if he made it to the end of the game last night either. I haven't chatted with him yet this morning. He'll be back with us next Tuesday. Now, we got through the Wolves, which was a nice pick-me-up considering there was a time, let's say at about 10:45, maybe close to 11 last night, that the Wolves are getting killed and the Wild were on the downward side of a Game 2 loss after they thoroughly dominated the play against Dallas Saturday evening to win 6-1. You had to figure Dallas was going to be better in Game 2. They were. The Wild wasn't in sharp, and as it turns out, now we've got an even series there. Let's show you what happened in Game 2 in Dallas, which started with a Stars great save from Jake Ottinger. He was so much better. The Lakeville kid was light years better than he was in Game 1. Jesper Wallstedt, I don't think he was bad. A couple of the Dallas goals were really darn good. Like that one from Wyatt Johnston, it's 1-0. Brock Faber was electric last night. This is a fabulous goal. His first career postseason goal. We're knotted up at 1-1. How is Matt Duchene still playing? He's been in the league like 20 years. Ties it at 1. That is a great one-timer. And you can't give Dallas a power play. They are electric with a man advantage. It's 2-1 in the third when Jason Robertson somehow tips that past Wallstedt. It's 3-1 Dallas. The Wild answer back. Faber alone in the slot risks home the goal and ties and puts it at 3-2. And Minnesota's got life. They had a couple of chances. They've pulled Wallstedt. Watch this. Johnston has chipped it out on its end and comes in and scores into the empty net. How does this happen? That's like a perfect chip shot in golf. And finds its way into the empty net to give Dallas a 2-goal lead and to give Dallas a 2-goal win to even up the series at a game apiece. 4-2 in favor of the Stars. Ottinger with 28 saves in net to pace Dallas. They get 2 from Wyatt Johnston. Jesper Wallstedt made 28 saves, and now I'm going back to him. I know the hunch is to say they're going to go to Gus Bus for Game 3 on Wednesday night. I would not do that. I'd stick with Wallstedt. I think he's been really good. We'll see what John Hines does for Game number 3. Series now will shift to St. Paul. Game 3 is on Wednesday night, 8:30 start. So again, 8:45 probably. That'll be on TNT on Wednesday night. Game 4 will come up on Saturday. So you've got a doubleheader there for that one between the Stars and the Wild. That'll be on TBS at 4:30 on Saturday. Now Game 5 will be necessary. That'll come up next, Tuesday, a week from today. So we thought the Wolves series got spaced out here. We've got a couple days between games 3 and 4 and a couple days between games 4 and 5 for the Wild and the Stars. Last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the other games going down, the Flyers got a win over Pittsburgh to go up 2-0 there. They won both games on the road as Philly. The Senators lost to Carolina in double overtime, so the Hurricanes are up 2-0. And finally, the Ducks-Oilers series began. Edmonton scored 2 in the third to rally to beat Anaheim 4-3 to lead that series 1-0. We got Montreal, Tampa tonight. Game 2 there. Buffalo, Boston. We showed you what happened on Sunday night in Game 1. I'm watching that tonight. That is going to be fantastic in downtown Buffalo for game number 2. Mammoth and the Golden Knights with Vegas leading that series. And we got L.A. and Colorado also coming tonight with that series at 1-0 in favor of the Avalanche. Of course, the winner of that series will play the winner of Dallas and Minnesota in the next round. So there's your playoff update here of what went down yesterday. The Twins will be back in action today. As we mentioned, they start a road trip that'll go through New York City and eventually Tampa. We talked about the great starting pitching that the team has received. Well, they got a big blow yesterday. Mick Abel, who's been Minnesota's, I'd say, best starter, him and Taj Bradley, probably 1 and 1A for how they started the season. Abel is hurt, and he's going on the injured list with right elbow inflammation. Now, it doesn't sound serious, but anytime a pitcher has elbow anything, red flags start going off here. Twins have already lost Pablo Lopez for the season with an elbow injury. Abel was great. I mean, you're seeing highlights of his 10 strikeouts that he threw against the Red Sox in his last start. But he is going to be out for a bit, pitched 13 scoreless innings over his last 2 starts. Top prospect Connor Prelip is coming up to the major leagues. 25-year-old left-hander from Tomah, Wisconsin, joining the Twins on their road trip. Expected to make a start, a source tells the Minnesota Star-Tribune. Prelip at a 2.30 earned run average in 4 outings in St. Paul with 22 strikeouts and 8 walks in 15 2/3 innings. So he's coming up. They also made another move. Kendry Rojas has been moved up from the minors to the bullpen. They acquired him in the Louis Varland trade, which we still think is larceny considering what the Twins gave up in team control with Varland. And granted, the bullpen has been a disaster here over the last couple of games. Rojas is 23 years old, left-hander, has not given up a run in 6 innings in St. Paul after recovering from a hamstring strain. He's given up 4 hits and 2 walks while striking out 5. He's going to fill Cody Funderburk's spot on the roster. Funderburk's going on the paternity list while his wife is set to give birth. If you saw that story over the weekend that Audra Martin did on the broadcast, Funderburk's wife is undergoing chemotherapy for Hodgkin's lymphoma and is literally due any day. Sounds like baby is going to be okay. Wife will be going back to undergo chemotherapy right after the baby is born. Crazy story there. Rojas acquired with from the Blue Jays, I mentioned, of the Louis Varland trade. Baseball America, ranks Rojas as the number 8 prospect in the Twins organization. So we're going to see both of those guys, Prelip and Rojas, against the Mets, which, by the way, we talked about yesterday. And again, this isn't Mets fan line. The Mets come in with a solid 11-game losing streak tonight. Simeon Woods Richardson will go against Nolan McLean, who's one of the top young pitchers in baseball. Corey Provis spoke about him last week for the opening game of that set in Queens tonight. So Twins are going to have to do it with some guys beat up right now. A couple guys gone from the team. We'll see. They've got a 4-game losing skid they'll try to snap. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's losing streak has got to come to an end tonight. One other note before we break, just to update things. Bison men's basketball, I talked about it yesterday that we knew there was another addition. We now have a name and face to tell you. It's Josiah Harper is the next Bison transfer that's been added to Dave Richmond's roster for next season. Harper, 6'7" guard/forward, so he's a wing. Comes to North Dakota State after 1 year of redshirting at the University of Maryland. He played his prep ball at the Don Bosco Institute in Indiana. He's a native of Oak Park, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. He played 2 years of prep ball. That's where you're seeing his highlights here from, who averaged 17 points a game there. Had an offer from Indiana, obviously an offer from Maryland out of prep school, Texas State, Central Michigan, Incarnate Word, a few other schools that had offered him scholarships. Didn't play. He liked Buzz Williams, head coach in Maryland, but never got on the floor a season ago. So now he comes to Fargo with 4 years of eligibility in tow. Certainly athletic. He can get up and dunk it. You can see there with his ability to get above the rim and throw it down. So that is transfer number 3, joining Caden Tate, joining Jack Robinson, who you met last week, and now Harper is part of that. We anticipate probably at least 2 more additions to the team, maybe 3. We know the Bison return 3 guys, right? Have 5 freshmen coming. That's 8, right? They have 3 signing. That's 11. Imagine somewhere in that 13 to 14 range of equivalencies. It's not scholarships anymore. Got to get that out of your mind. It's equivalencies of what they can have on the team, with likely a walk-on, maybe 2 that'll be on the roster next season. So David Richmond's been a busy man. I told him when he's done, he'd come back and give us the lowdown on the new members of this team. So I'd imagine sometime middle of next month is when he'll have some free time to chat about that. But that's the latest Bison men's basketball edition. One other addition on a departure, Travion Carson announced yesterday he will sign with Cincinnati. He is a Bearcat. So the running total now of the Bison that we have known to leave, Trayson Anderson is at Butler. Noah Feddersen is at Colorado. If you missed that news, that happened. I think we talked about that late last week. Emil Skuta is at Portland State. He went back to the Big 12. Damari Wheeler-Thomas is at Boise State in the Pac-12. And now Travion Carson at Cincinnati, who has a new head coach. Jerry Calhoun takes over there. He was at Utah State. Goes to a Cincinnati program that, frankly, hasn't been all that great over the last handful of years. That's where Travion will be. So that's 5 of the known Bison portalists, I don't know if that's the right word to use or not, that have moved on. Dom Clay, Riley Saunders, and Max Marley, I believe, are the last 3 that we don't know where they're going as of yet. I only bring that up because today the portal officially closes. Yesterday it closed for women's basketball. Today it closes for men. Doesn't mean we're not going to have announcements yet, but it means you can't go in after today. You are locked in to your team for the 26-27 season unless you get your documents in between now and 11:59 tonight. So, and frankly, it's been open since it's open whenever. I think Jeff Goodman put it this morning. It never actually really closes. I think what he means is we've known guys are going to go in since basically early March. Now here we are almost at the end of April, 7 weeks later, that we're finally getting known destinations on players. So there's a little Bison men's basketball update for you there. We may have Josiah on. We got a lot of draft stuff we're going to do between now and the end of the week, so that might wait till to next week to meet him as the newest member of the Bison men's basketball team. All right, let's break. Come back. We'll wrap up hour 1. Got a couple emails to get to, and we'll meet the Mountain West segment. We'll start our second hour. Hot Mic rolls on. Excuse me. We're back after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour here. We'll have our first Meet the Mountain West segment coming up here in hour 2. Cole Payton in about 35 minutes. Looking forward to that. Got a few emails I want to get to. Dom, did you see yesterday who Southern Illinois scheduled in football? I did, as we are still, keeping eyes on what's happening in Missouri Valley territory. The Salukis will open up 2026 with a Week 0 game against West Florida, the newest members of Division I, the Argonauts, who made the announcement, about a couple weeks ago that they're moving up to Division I. They need games, and Southern Illinois will take one. It'll be August the 27th, that first Thursday. We talked about it yesterday when we had Eric Schmidt on. If you missed that conversation, good stuff with Schmidt, head coach of UND. UND is playing that day as well against Long Island at the Alerus Center. Southern Illinois will be in action that day as well against West Florida at 6 o'clock in Pensacola. That's where West Florida is at. So I'm trying to think. Southern Illinois has been to Florida a couple times. I want to say they played an FBS game with FAU, I want to say, down there. So that's where they will start the 2026 season. We'll keep an eye still what's going on in the Missouri Valley. We're not going to keep a blind eye. I mentioned that before on what's going on in FCS football for next season. I did not know this. Where is it? Here. Dom, it's National Bunion Day today. You need Sam on the show ASAP. I did not know that. I did not know it had a national day for it. I don't think Sam knew about that. He does now. We'll see him on Thursday on Mock Draft Show. But thanks for the heads up to let us know on that. Our viewers never miss anything. Appreciate that. Dom, is anything to be worried about with Abel, as we talked about in the last segment? Who knows? With arm injuries, it's always a catch-22 on that. You hope not, considering how brilliant he's been over the last couple starts, to give a young ace pitcher. Just think about that. Minnesota just does not have that often. I mean, how much would they wanted Jose Barrios to be that? And it just never blossomed, you know? Pablo Lopez came to the Twins in his late 20s. He had already been established. He wasn't a young, up-and-coming guy. Sonny Gray was a veteran pitcher. Think of the last really great young pitcher that was homegrown or came to the Twins at a trade. Joe Ryan is that guy. Ryan pitched a little bit before he got to the majors. You hope that if you can keep Joe Ryan and Mick Abel, like, okay, might have something there. And, of course, now you just keep your fingers crossed that he's okay and come back sometime soon. We'll see. Again, Twins in action tonight in New York. We'll break. We'll start our second hour. We come back. We'll meet the Mountain West. Our first team up is the University of New Mexico. Sean Reider covers the team. He'll give us the lowdown on the Lobos. That's coming up when we start hour 2 of Hot Mike after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll here on this Tuesday morning. Bison quarterback Cole Payton will join us about a half hour as we get ready for the NFL draft. And when is he going to hear his name? I'm sure he'll tell us. I'm sure he knows. That's coming up in about a half hour's time. We've been planning this out here for the better part of a couple months since it became official that North Dakota State is now a football member of the Mountain West Conference, to give us the update of who these teams are, who are the good players, the coaches, stadiums, travel, all that kind of good stuff. And we're going to do that over the next few months as we get set for NDSU's first foray into FBS football. Today we're going to start with the University of New Mexico, which Bison fans have some familiarity with because they know the head football coach is one Jason Eck from South Dakota State. Sean Reider covers the Lobos. He has for the better part of nearly 4 years for the Albuquerque Journal. He joins us here this morning, getting up with us to give us the lowdown on the Lobos. Thanks for doing this, bud. I really appreciate it. Give us first your impressions when you had heard North Dakota State is moving to the Mountain West.
Yeah, it was always, I think, something that seemed like an attractive venture for the Mountain West, in the sense of it made the most sense to get one of the the big FCS schools and all that. I think the way I thought of it, North Dakota State made more sense than the kind of either the Montana schools, because the Montana schools, from what I always kind of understood, were maybe tethered together, and there would have been maybe an issue to get both of them up at the same time. But you just never knew if you never knew for sure if he was going to get North Dakota State kind of at the right window. And I think it was a little bit of a pleasant surprise at first, and I think fans in particular were really excited about it.
How about? Sorry, go ahead.
They lost all these these
yes.
teams to the Pac-12 that kind of defined a lot of the success that the Mountain West kind of had. Not all of it, to be clear, but a lot of what the success the league had in football and basketball and all that as well. And to get to get some new blood in, and a team that's been really, really successful, of course, in FCS football. We all know about that, but they're good in basketball and a lot of other stuff. Of course, it is only a football-only ad. I'll mention that. But, no, I think fans have been really excited about it and very pleased to see a team like North Dakota State come in.
I loved Eck's response, Sean, when he was asked about it, 2 days after, to say he thought he was done going to that dome again. Now, they don't have to come this year. The Bison will be going to Albuquerque. Spring ball's going on. Have you talked at all with the players or staff about NDSU now being in the league?
Yeah, I was the one that asked him that question. I think the way the phrase was like, all right, did you think you were like done with these guys? Like, you think he was kind of over? Obviously, because going back to his time like at South Dakota State and all that as well. But I haven't talked to a ton of players about it. The one thing I've kind of found, and I probably should talk to some of the FCS guys, the former FCS
Yeah.
guys in particular about it, because I think those guys would actually have some strong takes on it. The one thing I've found because the entire time I've been here, there has always been a conference realignment narrative, and a lot of the players I've always talked to say, "I don't know, I don't really care that much. We'll play whoever." But coaches, Bronco Mendenhall and Danny Gonzalez, and of course Jason Ack, like those guys have always had good takes on it, and Ack has a lot of respect for North Dakota State, and yeah, he's been very clear. He's like, yeah, the Fargo Dome, like that's a great place to get in the league, and he thinks it's a great program to get in the league as well.
So New Mexico won 9 games last year. That was one of the maybe pleasant surprises in FBS football. Played in the Rate Bowl. Fans up here, Sean, watched that because they played the University of Minnesota in that game. What stood out about last year's team, and how much of that team is coming back in 2026?
Well, yeah, I think number one, the defense was a little bit of a revelation. You kind of knew during spring practice and fall camp that it had the makings to be, a much better defense than what it had been the last 2 years. That probably isn't saying much because it was one of the worst defenses in the country the last 2 years before last season. But you felt like, hey, there was going to be some real improvement. You just didn't know how much, and they ended up, being phenomenal rushing the passer. I think 36 sacks, which led the league. They had the Mountain West Co-Defensive Player of the Year and Jason Eck's son, Jackson Eck, who was just phenomenal at that Mike linebacker spot. And just did a lot of things really well and kind of gelled, down the final stretch of the season to win out the final 6 games. And that's kind of something that's expected to really continue. There are some missing guys from last year, notably former Idaho, edge rusher Keyshawn James Newby. But, UNM does return 14 starters, which is one of the highest marks in all of FBS. That mark's a little wonky in the sense that it includes Abe Williams, who played corner last year. He's playing receiver now, and
Okay.
he might not start at receiver, of course. And then Jack Lane, with the quarterback coming back. There will be a quarterback competition during fall camp. I think Jack probably will win it at this point, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But no, they had a lot of guys that definitely were tampered with, to say the least, and received some compelling offers. And, they got those guys to stay, and particularly on the defensive end and the defensive secondary, too. Jackson Eck, of course, he's coming back. But you got guys like Austin Brawley and Tavian Combs, in the secondary, and Frankie Edwards, Jameer Torres, so some younger guys there that, that didn't, bolt for the first P4 opportunity. So I think there is a really good level of confidence in terms of the guys that they're bringing back.
I know you were writing yesterday, spring ball is wrapping up. There's a quarterback battle underway. Give us the lowdown on how that's going right now.
Yeah, so Jack Lane was a starter for all 13 games last year, not all 9 games. Jack, of course, transferred over with Eck from Idaho. And the thing with Jack is that he is an elite decision maker. He knows his offense extremely well, and you watch the tape, he goes everywhere he is supposed to with the ball. But he suffered a little bit of an elbow injury prior to the UCLA game, kind of a nagging thing that just kind of came back, and it hounded him the rest of the way, throughout the season. And they ended up finding out in a cleanup surgery after the season that he had a totally torn tendon in his elbow. They did not know it was that bad. So he is out for this spring and will be back during fall camp, out throwing from the spring, I should say. He's still out there running a little bit. So they brought in Luke Moga, who's a former 4-star recruit, Oregon transfer, kind of a coup for UNM. They don't get a lot of guys like that even in the portal, frankly. And then Toa Fave is a guy who's still a freshman. He really kind of jumped up the depth chart, during bowl practice and all that. Really ended up ending the season as kind of their 3rd-string guy. So right now it's Fave and Moga, kind of going back and forth. It felt like last week Fave kind of passed Moga. He was playing more consistent. He was kind of getting things done there. And then Moga had probably his best day of practice, the other day. Yesterday. Both Moga and Fave, are more dual threat guys. They have they have pretty elite track speed. I think both around like 10.5 100, like stuff like that, a little bit lower maybe. And it is interesting to see how it kind of plays out because you know they can extend plays, you know they can take off and run it, but can they step up and be decisive in the pocket? I think yesterday was the first time we saw Moga really do that for a sustained period.
On the not necessarily football related stuff, for fans who are going to go to Albuquerque, Sean, give us the lowdown stadium wise around it, tailgating. Give us the 100,000-foot view of what New Mexico football is like on a game day if Bison fans are going to make the trip in late October.
Yeah, I think last year, out of all the years I've been here, last year was really the best year in terms of like game day experience and all that. And a lot of that was because the team was good, much better than it had been in really over 10 years. And even then, I think fans connected with this team in a way that they might not have with the Bob Davie teams that went to bowl games in 2016 and all that. But no, I mean, there is a solid tailgating scene. I don't think it's as notorious as something like Ole Miss's Grove or anything like that.
Yeah.
There are tailgates, in the lots around the stadium. The one thing, if you are going to the game as a North Dakota State fan, I would caution sometimes it gets a little backed up getting in, especially when there's a lot of interest. So I would recommend maybe trying to get to your seat early. But no, Albuquerque's a great town, and excited for North Dakota State fans to get a feel for it. Very unique, and the food here is elite. Like you have to give it a go. It's not a true Mexican food. It's not Tex-Mex. It's New Mexican. It's its own thing entirely.
I've heard that, so I'm excited about. New Mexico is one of the few states I have not been to, so I'm looking forward, hopefully, to get that crossed off the list here in the fall. When we talk about travel's the other big thing, Sean. You've done it. Granted, it's different here from your position, but North Dakota State's going to go to Albuquerque. They're going to go to Honolulu. They're going to Colorado Springs. They're going to go to Las Vegas. Frankly, those are the four best teams in the league, regardless of distance. That's four really difficult games for the Bison to be put in.
Yeah, no, I looked at the schedule immediately and had kind of a, hey, well, welcome to the Mountain West kind of thought, right? Like, and I don't know how that appeal or the rule change that would make them eligible for a bowl, and then I believe also to compete for a Mountain West championship.
Yes.
I don't know how that's coming along at this point, but even if that they were able to compete, yeah, they would have a tough slate. But I don't know. I think it's I don't know if fans have maybe tempered expectations, but I think in the Mountain West you're kind of getting some of the best locations and some of the best trips, frankly. I mean, Vegas is always a good draw, but I mean, if you can do it, Honolulu, heck yeah, like that's phenomenal. And in Albuquerque too. I mean, this is a place that doesn't always have really good football teams or teams expected to be really good, and I think being able to go out and see that kind of atmosphere is pretty neat.
Bison head coach Tim Polisic, Sean, told us that after his experience as being OC at Wyoming about the type of players there. Certainly skill positions, secondary are just different than what North Dakota State is used to. You've covered it. Give us the overview on the type of players that maybe are just unique to the Mountain West, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the Mountain West as a whole, with it, in my time covering it, with maybe the exception of Boise, because Boise's always recruited. You could say, along with like Boise and Memphis, and I guess now with like USF, like you could always say those are the teams that, and I guess the old UCF too, frankly. You could always say there's teams that had, the most talented kind of G6 rosters.
Yep.
Year in and year out. It was always one of those, and Boise always recruited at a really high level. But I think the thing with the Mountain West, and I think it's the thing that's kind of rankled coaches and fans, is that, there are coaches that will identify, a guy and say like, hey, this was a 2-star, 3-star guy that wasn't like super highly touted or anything like that, and he was in a really competitive state. Get coaches out there and get him to the program, and you develop him, and all of a sudden he's getting a $375K offer to go to a Power 4 school. It's like, well, you guys didn't recruit him or anything like that, right? So I think it is more of a league that, certainly in this new era, is probably going to have to pride itself on kind of, picking, diamonds in the rough and developing them even more. But there are good players, and I think you'll see that, with the draft this year. We'll see where like Chris Johnson goes, but like Chris Johnson wasn't an insanely highly touted recruit, but for my money, he's one of the best cornerbacks I've seen in my time here in person. He's going to end up getting selected either, I think probably Friday, but maybe if you leaked in a Thursday, that'd be pretty crazy.
I have to ask on just with the departures, this is going to be new for you as well. I mean, Boise, San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State, all gone. So how different is this league going to look now when you add UTEP, Northern Illinois, and North Dakota State into the mix?
Yeah, I think it's, I think when they added UTEP initially and then Grand Canyon and basketball, I was like, are they going to try and maybe for like more of a regional feel? And that's kind of impossible now unless you're like the SEC. Like, of course, the MAC threw it out the window, getting Sac State in there and UMass and basketball and all that. But no, I think I think the way I look at it is that, I do think, particularly with like UNM, like you look at their schedule and I see a lot of people like, oh, they're going to be favored to win like 10 games and all that. I'm like, they probably will be favored to win 10 games on paper, probably maybe 10 or 9 games, on paper before the season. But it's still a tricky league. Like you still have a lot of tough outs. Like nobody wants to go play in Laramie in late November, and nobody wants to play Air Force in the final game of the season when you're already all beat up. And then okay, here you go. I know cut blocking isn't what it used to be, but you still get pretty banged up playing Air Force. And I think there are still a lot of tough outs in the league. And I do think UNLV to me, like. I think it was really important to kind of make sure that they stayed in the fold too, because I think they have an opportunity to really take off and kind of be in that that same stratosphere as what Boise had been and what Memphis has been and all that in terms of having really talented rosters year in and year out and kind of building something up.
2 last things for you. I think another adjustment is for fans getting used to when TV dictates the games. Bison fans have been used to, Sean, hey, we know the game's going to be at 2:30 on a Saturday months in advance. What is this like as a reporter? We're getting into this now of finding out basically 12 days out when the game and what time it's going to be played at.
Yeah, it's not always the worst, but it's not always the most fun. There have been a couple times where you get hit with a weird late kick and you're kind of like, all right, like fine, I guess, but like we'll make it work. But no, I do think that's something I didn't even think about, frankly, with North Dakota State. But yeah, it is a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm certain everybody can make it all work.
The bowl is the last part of it because that's all again a brand new world, and it looks like we'll find out early May is when the oversight committee will meet to sign off if North Dakota State and Sacramento State will be immediately eligible. Give us how the Mountain West tie-ins, I know that got announced over the weekend. It looks like everything is going to stay the same outside of the Poinsettia Bowl coming back where the Mountain West champ will likely go to.
Yeah, the Poinsettia Bowl, and that replaces the LA Bowl if I'm the Gronk's LA Bowl or whatever the heck it was.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Part of me, it's a little tough to rattle off the top of my head. I don't have the tie-in order off the top of my head.
That's okay.
The Poinsettia Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl, and then UNM played in the Rate Bowl last year not because it is a true Mountain West affiliation game, but if the Big 12 or the Big 10 can't fill any of those slots, then the Mountain West has first dibs there. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad that I'm blanking.
I got Idaho Potato Bowl,
yes,
and
the Idaho Potato Bowl. Thank you.
And then for Bison fans, the Frisco Bowl, which is obviously where the FCS championship game has been forever. So North Dakota State knows all about Frisco, if that's a possibility as well.
Yes, I think that's like the Scooters Coffee Bowl.
Correct.
Now or
yes. Yes.
Which that's a great narrative too. I didn't even think of that. If they're eligible to make a bowl and get in, that would be a pretty good narrative. But I don't know if fans are tired of going to Frisco. But
yeah, well, if they had another chance, I think they'd sign up. They'd sign up to do it. My last thing for you, just give me your thought. New Mexico won 9 games. Can they duplicate that again in 2026 in your mind?
I think they can.
Yeah.
I think the path to doing so is maybe a little more fraught than I think fans would like to give it credit for. I think, they need to get a lot healthier at receiver, and they need to kind of prove that they have more difference makers in that receiver room than they did last year. I think they're bringing 4 starters back on the offensive line, which is great, but I think all those guys need to improve. And while I really like a lot of things in this defense, I think it's an element too of, they got to stay healthy there. And, the things that we're seeing that are promising, in terms of stuff going on with the secondary and stuff going on up front, those things really need to become mainstays. And I don't think they're going to be able to replicate, 36 sacks like they did last season. But if they really need to make sure they're finding ways to put pressure on the passer and kind of get the job done there.
This was great, man. I really appreciate you giving us the lowdown on New Mexico. We'll do this again once we get closer to the start of the season, all right?
Dom, awesome talking with you, man.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Sean Reider joining us in the Albuquerque Journal. Give us the lowdown, our first, the lowdown on the Lobos on our move to the Mountain West coverage. We'll do this periodically now over the next few months. That's team number 1. We still got 8 others to go to give us a little perspective of these teams. You know, New Mexico comes in off a 9-win year with a fan base that I think was pretty rejuvenated after what they did a season ago under Jason Eck. And obviously the Bison will be going there October the 24th, part of the gauntlet of games they got to play on the road. Just thinking about it again this morning, I was driving into work. Like, man, 2 trips to California. Got to go to New Mexico. Got to go to Hawaii. Got to go to Colorado. There's just it's a lot that's involved here with this upcoming football season. Excited about it, and there's your look at New Mexico. We'll do another one probably next week. Trying to figure out maybe Air Force we'll try to hit on, or Wyoming probably next up as well. The Cowboys will be coming to Fargo, as we know, on homecoming in October. All right, let's break. We'll get caught up on a few things. Don't forget Cole Payton here in about 15 minutes to chat about his draft prospects. As we roll on a Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike, we're back right after this. Our thanks to Sean Reider for giving us some good stuff there on New Mexico football. I'm reading a mailbag here from Chris Murray, who's another guy we're going to have on who covers Nevada, and citing about what the Mountain West and Pac-12 are going to do potentially down the road with expansion. He writes, the Pac-12 must expand while the Mountain West would like to expand at some point to some strength in numbers, but neither has a smooth pathway toward expansion because there aren't obvious candidates who are additive to a media rights deal. If you set the eastern border of Texas as your delineation point, there are 45 FBS schools. Of those 45, the only schools not in the Pac-12, the Mountain West, or a Power 4 league are Sac State, it's in the MAC for football only, New Mexico State in Conference USA, Texas San Antonio, Tulsa, Rice, North Texas, and Sam Houston. Now, the Pac-12 already took a run at the American schools and was denied, so we can rule out San Antonio, Rice, Tulsa, and North Texas for expansion consideration in the short term. That leaves Sac State, New Mexico State, and Sam Houston. Sac State has already been turned down by the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. New Mexico State was one of 2 schools left in the cold when the old WAC disbanded, the other being Idaho, which dropped down, of course, to an FCS school. That leaves Sam Houston, which was an FCS school in 2022. So there are no good FBS expansion candidates in the western 60% of the United States. That's why the Pac-12 was stuck adding Texas State, which it didn't envision taking on when it first poached the Mountain West of San Diego State, Boise, Colorado State, and Fresno State. The Pac-12 needs a 9th football member, which at this point has a best option of Sam Houston. Think about that. Ideally, the Pac-12 would like to see Cal and Stanford back in the fold, leave the ACC and return to the Pac-12. That's not going to happen. Its next best option is having UNLV, Air Force, or New Mexico back out of the Mountain West. But Gloria Navarez spoke about this weekend, the commissioner of the Mountain West. The Mountain West grant of media rights / exit fees makes that unlikely. They all signed a group. That grant of rights is another term that you're going to have to get familiar with. That is basically a document that locks you into the league for the breadth of your television contract, barring numerous exit fees, legal fees, and penalties to get out, which is what the Mountain West and the Pac-12 are suing itself about. So the league is going to be here till 2032. That's the point of what Murray writes here. That means there aren't any slam dunk expansion candidates are available, as Navarez noted last week. She said North Dakota State was a very strategic add in football because they fit with us, look a lot like us, and make us immediately stronger in football. We're at 10 in football now. 12 still seems to be a target, although we're not actively on the market right now, kind of keeping our eyes on the horizon. The Western region has far fewer FBS institutions compared to the East Coast. There just aren't a lot of places to go out here, and we're an airport league. She told me that same thing when she was here in February. We do have Hawaii on one side and Northern Illinois and football on the other. As long as the other conferences stay where they are, I think somewhere between 10 to 12 could be a sweet spot. Yeah, it's the Mountain West in better shape than the Pac-12 for expansion because it can add an FCS school like North Dakota State and not feel like it's watering down its brand. The Pac-12 is more of a brand to protect at this point, which has kept it from getting to 9 football schools. I would not be shocked to see the Mountain West add the Montana schools down the line, or perhaps a Sam Houston or New Mexico State. A lot there to unpack, but Mountain West is sitting in a position of strength now. And if they can win that legal fight with the Pac-12 about those teams that left and get $100 million in exit fees to go to the league, which would go to the legacy members. I don't think any of that's trickling down to North Dakota State. Bison would be sitting, or the league would be sitting awfully pretty there, having won a lawsuit there, feeling pretty good about the teams that they added, have a new media deal that they're touting starting this upcoming fall. Certainly seems like it's in a position of strength right now. Good stuff there. All right, we'll break. We come back. As we mentioned, the draft is a couple days away. Our next guest is going to get his name called, just a matter of who and when. Cole Payton on the NFL Draft. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on this Tuesday morning. We mentioned we're about 48 hours away from the NFL Draft getting underway in Pittsburgh. The first round is on Thursday. Rounds 2 and 3 on Friday. Rounds 4 through 7 go on Saturday. And North Dakota State is again going to have players selected. They're going to have multiple guys selected again. It'll happen starting, we believe, sometime on Friday. Our next guest is counting on he's going to get a phone call on Friday. Bison quarterback Cole Payton joins us here to wrap up our show on this Tuesday morning as we're just a couple days out from D-Day. Great to see you, bud. It's almost over. What's the emotions like for this week?
Man, just a ton of excitement. Thanks for having me on, Dom. But yeah, just super excited to, spend this week, this weekend in Omaha with close family and friends, and so just a ton of excitement.
We've seen you flying all over the country. Reports are, you met the Jets, the Patriots, Eagles, Colts, Steelers. I know you probably can't get too specific on the meetings, but what's the general sense of what your agent's telling you about what to expect this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we're going with day 2. I've been fortunate to visit with teams, have workouts, have a lot of Zoom meetings, and they don't give you specifics, and a lot of it's with those meetings with quarterback coaches, and at the end of the day, they're not the ones making the decision. It's the ownership, the front office, the GM, and so while they have say, I don't think they have a ton of say, and so that's really not brought up. It's usually just like, hey, we like you and we're rooting for you, but we'll see what happens. But when it comes to talking with Chase Callahan and my agency, we're day 2, baby. Let's go.
What is this like to be in the home stretch of this? It's been going since basically January 1st and really in high motor here. Just now you're in the finish line. Are you excited or nervous? Both? What are the emotions like?
There's a ton of excitement. A lot of weight off the shoulders now that, all the hay's in the barn. I mean, Senior Bowl's completed, Combine completed, Pro Day completed, wrapping up a bunch of these interviews and visits. And so now it's just, we'll see where the world takes me. But just super excited, and I had a blast training over the last 3 months. It was long at times, but it's what you dream of as a kid, and so grateful to have great representation and people that are training me, and so just a ton of excitement.
Can you get the curtain back just a little bit of when you're meeting with teams? What are they asking you to do?
Yeah, so. Sometimes there's, a little bit like small talk, get to know you, and that's typically with like the scouts. But when you're meeting with position coaches, typically they're going to install one of their plays. You'll probably watch a little bit of tape on it, and then you'll get into your own tape. And so they'll pull up some clips from, for me this last season, Some good, a lot of bad plays they'll pull up. And they're like, all right, talk us through this. What was the, formation to play? Why'd you do this? What was, what was going through your head? Why'd you make that play? What would you do differently, et cetera? And then towards the end of the meeting, they'd be like, hey, remember that play we taught you? Give it back to us. Let's see what you got. Let's see your recall. Let's see your ball knowledge. And so that was kind of the standard format when meeting with some of these teams.
I know we had your quarterback coach and Jake Heaps on during Pro Day and talked about the narrative out there about your throwing motion or the lack of starts. How do you block that out? How is that something that doesn't even get to you? Because obviously that narrative is out there, Cole, over the last couple of months since this whole draft process started.
Yeah, I mean, it's just noise, and I definitely try to block that out. And I remember this is a Matt Entz quote. Coach Entz would always say this. He's like, "You'll never meet a hater doing better than you," and so that stuck with me. And just like, yeah, just don't let that stuff infiltrate your mind, and you just have to have this almost delusional belief in yourself, and confidence in yourself, and just put all that aside, and things will be much smoother.
What did you and Jake work on, I'd say, over the last couple of months, maybe specifically to get you ready for the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, mechanics were always at the forefront, tightening things up. I was carrying the ball low at times, and just to shorten the release, I'm going to hold it a little higher now, and that has helped keeping, my base a little more narrow. And so mechanics were always a focus, and then a ton of interview prep and him asking me the tough questions, and they just the whole Excel team along with Jake, just so grateful to have them, and they definitely over prepared us for all of the interviews, meetings, visits, and just we were just working away on the field, in the film room, in the weight room, and so it was a good time.
It seemed on the outside, from seeing you do other interviews with other outlets, that people were stunned that you stayed at NDSU. Were you surprised how often you got that question?
Honestly, I wasn't really surprised. I mean, you look at a lot of the starters in the NFL, like most of them have transferred once, if not twice, when they were in college, and that's just the thing now. And so I guess I am a bit of the outlier nowadays when it comes to staying at NDSU for all 5 years. And so I wasn't super surprised.
To now get ready for this, what do you think should be the emotions when the phone call comes, whatever, if it's Friday or Saturday? What do you think is going to go through your mind?
Man, just I'll lose it for sure. I mean, this is what you dream of as a kid. This is what you work for, and just to, have, like I said, my family there, some close friends, and just enjoy the moment. Like, this isn't just for, the little boy that had this dream. This is for all of them as well, and all the great mentors I had. And so there will be a lot of gratitude and tears of joy for sure.
The fact of the matter is you're going to get picked, and it's going to be 5 straight Bison starting quarterbacks drafted into the NFL. I'm shaking my head, man. You're part of that. What goes through your mind when I say that?
I mean, it's a big reason why I went to NDSU in the first place. We have dreams of going to the NFL, and I saw that one stat. It's like after this draft, we'll be tied with Alabama and Ohio State for the top. Within the last 10 years, the top schools with a drafted quarterback. And to all those high school quarterbacks out there, why not NDSU? Like, let's go. Like, Mountain West now, you want to get developed and learn how to be a quarterback, and go to NDSU. Like, what else do I have to say?
Well, I can remember when we talked when you committed, and that was exactly what you said to me about development, the chance to potentially play at the next level. How much did you even believe it then that this was going to be a reality 5 years down the road?
Man, I've always believed it, always. And I think that's kind of what has helped me get to this place. It's obviously such a niche job, a niche position. Like, the chances are slim, but I think playing this sport, playing this position, you have to have that, like I said before, this almost like delusional self-confidence. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be tough. And so, to be honest with you, Dom, I've always had that mindset, and a lot of the decisions I've made in my life have led me to this moment.
All right, let's do some non-football stuff here. What was the most off-the-wall question you got throughout this whole process? Did you get one like, come on, what are you asking me that for?
Yeah, I wish I had a crazy answer for you. I didn't get any super interesting questions, but the one that stuck with me was a coach asked me over a Zoom. He was like, "All right, Cole, let's say we're going to the beach. I'll pack the cooler, but you get to pick. You're on aux. You get to pick what we're listening to." And I was in California at the time, and so I was like, "I'm going with Tupac. Let's go. We're going with a little old school rap, some Tupac, some Ice Cube. Like, that'll be good vibes for the beach." And so that was a question I'll never forget.
See, I remember Joe Haig told me once he got asked if he likes cats or dogs. Like, I have well, how does that relate to you playing football? I'll never understand that.
I think they just want to see like
your reaction,
how you react to just random stuff and all the craziness of what we're about to get into, I guess.
So what's this week like? Like, no workout? Hey, can you relax a little bit? Are you doing that this week at all?
A little bit, but I mean, I'm throwing still. I'm lifting. I might try to find a tea time here.
There you go.
So like, no, I'm getting out. It's supposed to be in the 80s here in Omaha, and so no, I'm staying active. If I don't, Dom, I'll go crazy.
Are you getting any phone calls now? Is your agent calling you at like the lead up, or is it kind of radio silence between now and the weekend?
It's quieted down for sure. You know, I think last week was kind of last week of visits and a lot of those interviews, and so it definitely has slowed down over the last couple weeks.
You mentioned we were visiting off air. You got a bunch of people coming. Describe what Omaha means to you, being back home and having family, some friends. I know some teammates are going to come down as well. What that's going to be like for you this weekend?
Yeah, it's just so grateful to have, all these people, family, peers, teammates here. And I didn't do this alone. I got here because of, well, first off, I mean, Omaha, Nebraska, born and raised here. Like, these are my roots. This is where I learned everything that I learned. Well, I learned a lot at NDSU, but for the majority of my life, like, just to get to share it with, my favorite people, it's going to be special.
Omaha can also brag now with 2 NFL drafted quarterbacks from NDSU and Easton Stick and yourself. I know you met Easton in high school. Just have this come full circle. Has that even crossed your mind this whole process as well, that's going to be – you guys are both going to be NFL guys here in not too distant future?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I wonder right off if he was probably the first, or if not one of the first. I mean, Eric Crouch got a chance. But geez, I can't think of a whole lot of other guys, especially within the last like 15 to 20 years. And so, getting to meet with Easton, I was a junior in high school at the time, and we got to throw together, and that was one of his first years in the league. And just, I don't know, being able to look up to a guy like him, it made this path, it made me sitting right here seem even more realistic because he was able to do it. Obviously because we had similar paths, and so it's just been so cool. And I got to talk with him. He was up in Fargo for Kramer's retirement party, and so there was a huge showing for Coach Kramer because he's the GOAT. But get to chat with Easton some more about the whole thing was special.
Officially, I'm ready to never hear about Taysom Hill and you again come this weekend. Are you ready to be done with that comparison as well?
Man, if you want to make the comparisons, if anyone wants to keep making those comparisons, so be it. So be it. I I mean, all the respect to Taysom Hill. He's been in the league for 10 years. Like, that's not a bad gig. And nothing against the guy, but yeah. We'll see.
Last thing for you, I got an email asking, Dom, you asked Cole the best player he ever played against. Who stands out? Best player, either high school, college, who's number one? Best player he ever faced?
I mean, what comes to mind is probably Travis Hunter 2 years ago.
Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. And then, see, I don't remember this as well because this was in 2021, but when Albany came to Fargo, they had Jared Verse at the time.
That's right. Yep.
And so that's another big name. Yeah, those are the two that come to mind.
Yeah, they were all right. Those both guys were first-round
yeah.
NFL draft picks. Again, another reminder of the kind of level of football that North Dakota State's been facing routinely here over the last little bit. It's great to catch up. I know you're super busy. I really appreciate you fitting us in this week. Good luck this weekend. Have a blast. Tell your mom and dad I said hi, and good luck, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. I'm glad we could do this.
Good to see you, man. There he goes, Cole Payton, former North Dakota State quarterback. He will have his name called sometime either Friday or Saturday. He will get that phone call. We've been there for some of them. Tell you what, that one that Cody Mount got will be unique forever. It'll never be topped when we were there for that. Been in the room for a few others. Joe Haig's one. When Carson Wentz got his. Trey Lance got his. Those are memorable. This will be equally as such for what happens coming up either Friday or Saturday. We appreciate Cole giving us a few minutes. That was great stuff. All right, we'll take our final break. We come back. We will wrap things up. Get you ready for a great Sports Tuesday. Fantastic weather day on tap as well. We'll wrap up Hot Mike on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Tuesday morning. Hey, tomorrow, Bryce Lance will join us, the other part of this Bison duo that's going to get drafted this weekend. He'll join us. Also, Brett McMurphy will be back with us from the On3 Network. Give us the latest on the Mountain West Bowl and bowl tie-ins with the Poinsettia Bowl. He reporting set to come back, so that's part of our guest lineup tomorrow. Looking forward to a packed show there. And then Thursday, don't forget, the return of the Hot Mike mock draft, our 7th annual edition of that on draft day, which normally produces some fireworks here. We'll have a full studio lineup here to join us on Thursday's show to get us ready for the opening round of the NFL draft. And a change this year that there's 8 minutes between picks instead of 10. Now, routinely, the draft starts at 7, and I believe it's scheduled to run, we're talking about the TV slides to start the show till 10:30, that there's some hope they can be off the air before 11 o'clock. Pro Football Talk writes this morning, it's also going to contribute to the periodic backlog of picks made but not yet announced. And that's the thing, now that the NFL Network has come under the umbrella of ESPN, to make sure nobody tips the picks, which, granted, it still gets out. I don't know. Maybe we'll save time for this for tomorrow or Thursday of what your preference is when you watch. Do you want to know ahead of time, or you want to be surprised and know when the actual selection is made? I'm kind of on the fence on that one. I don't mind it, but sometimes I like the actual surprise. Like, whoa, the Vikings took Adrian Peterson. That was, granted, really before social media really was crazy in 2007 when that selection was made. One other NFL note before we do what to watch. Andrew Marchand from The Athletic reporting Mike Tomlin is joining NBC's Football Night in America. So he will be on the pregame show with Maria Taylor and Chris Sims, I imagine. We'll see how else that looks. As Tony Dungy was not brought back, they're going to make a couple other changes on that show. But he was the most prized TV free agent. Mike Tomlin, former coach of the Steelers, going to Sunday Night Football. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. My dad would love Tomlin to replace Chris Collinsworth. That's not happening here. All right, here we go. Twins and Mets. This will be fun tonight, 6 o'clock on Twins TV. Simeon Woods, Richardson, and Nolan McLean, your starters tonight. Game 2, Blazers and Spurs, not at 7 o'clock on NBC. San Antonio won Game 1 on Sunday night. And we got Game 2 of the Mammoth and the Golden Knights at 8:30 on ESPN2. We leave you with the sight from Wrigley last night of an actual goose on the field between the Phillies and Cubs, and decided to stay out there for about as long as he wanted to, till a ball was hit by Michael Busch hitting his way. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, on a fun Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you back here tomorrow.